We begin with Kenya. Kenyan opposition leader Raila Odinga has said his coalition would not participate in a rerun of a presidential election proposed for October 17. Mr. Odinga said he wants legal and constitutional guarantees and does not want the repeat of the mistake of the August 8 polls repeated, which gave a victory to President Uhuru Kenyatta. President Kenyatta responded to Odinga's demands by saying there was nowhere in law that required the electoral body to consult Odinga. On Friday, the Kenya Supreme Court ordered a rerun of the August 8th vote within 60 days, saying President Uhuru Kenyatta's victory was undermined by irregularities in the process. Africanews journalists Claire Mutunji and Bridget Ugwe described the latest twist in the Kenyan presidential race in this report.
Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta has dismissed claims by opposition leader Raila Odinga that the rerun election slated for October 17th will be boycotted by the NASA coalition. Speaking during a rally in the outskirts of Nairobi on Tuesday, Kenyatta said that his party was ready for another election. The court said that according to the laws, the election should be repeated in 60 days. Isn't that true? Yesterday, the IEBC told us that the elections are going to be held on the 17th. I want to say it here, that the way we were ready on the 8th of August, we are ready for the 17th. Earlier on in the day, opposition leader Raila Odinga had said that his coalition would not participate in the rerun unless they were given legal and constitutional guarantees.
Meanwhile, Kenya's Election Commission said on Tuesday that different staff will be in charge of the October 17 rerun of the presidential election. Chairman, Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, said it had appointed for 3 months a project coordinator and officials to run the information technology, logistics, operations and training, as well as the National Tallying Center during the rerun.
Je rappelle que le 11 août dernier, l'IEBC, la Commission électorale nationale, avait déclaré vainqueur Uhuru Kenyatta, 55 ans, avec 54,27% des voix contre 44,74% à Raila Odinga, qui disputait là sa 4e élection présidentielle.
Last Friday, the Supreme Court annulled the election results and ordered a rerun, ruling that the election had not been delivered in agreement with the Constitution and that illegalities and irregularities had affected its integrity.
En accord avec la Constitution et que des illégalités et des irrégularités en avaient infecté l'intégrité.
Rita Oya is Kenya's National Super Alliance NASA Coalition Communication Advisor, the party of Mr. Raila Odinga. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, Rita. Raila Odinga is saying that your coalition will not participate in the runoff on October 17 unless you are given legal and constitutional guarantees. Could you please tell us exactly the guarantees that you are seeking?
There were reasons why the Supreme Court said the IEBC, which is the body that has been mandated to carry out the election, committed irregularities and illegalities. So he hasn't said that he will not participate. He said that the issues that were raised in the process of the Supreme Court case and ruling, those should be relooked at. Now, I understand, and it's very obvious that the Supreme Court has not given the full judgment, and we should wait on that because that will inform IEBC on where they need to make changes. But the key word to reference is that the IEBC committed irregularities and illegalities when it conducted the previous election, and that's why it was announced. And there is no reason to proceed with someone who committed an illegality.
But aren't you concerned that this will draw the electoral process backwards and perhaps complicate issues?
Well, there is that, but what does it mean? One of our officers, our commissioners, died, and we continued the elections. We didn't delay anything because in any organization, there's a process. If certain members of the Secretariat cannot continue being part of the IEBC, then they should be relieved and the next officers take up the roles. I do not think that's a valid position unless they show us how.
Rita, the IEBC chairman has promised to changes in the Secretariat, and in fact has now made some changes already. He has also promised that persons found culpable of these allegations will be made to face prosecution. Isn't all of this assuring enough?
How do we say this? The chairman of the IEBC is fully responsible for the conduct of the IEBC. Whatever decisions he makes administratively are up to him to justify and demonstrate to all stakeholders. IEBC conducts elections not for politicians, but for the sovereign citizens of the country. So he has to demonstrate to the sovereign citizens of Kenya and to all the stakeholders in the form of candidates and parties that he has taken sufficient administrative steps and measures to make sure that the irregularities and illegalities do not happen.
But what if the Commission does not respond to your demands?
We don't have a detailed response on that, so we are waiting for the IEBC to tell us how. We have a comprehensive press release that has highlighted the areas where we think they need to address. And it comes from the ruling, the order. You just can't say, we will do it. First of all, there is no pressure to even announce a date for the election. The Constitution does not say that give us a date by a certain time. So you fix your house and let us know when you will have fixed it and when we can have the elections within the 60 days that are outlined in the Constitution.
Many thanks, Rita, for speaking with us this morning. Nous allons à présent nous rendre au Kenya, toujours, nous restons au Kenya, pardon. Nous allons joindre par téléphone.
We are joined on the phone by Professor Herman Manyora, political analyst in Nairobi. Mr. Manyora, are the concerns of the opposition coalition with respect to the organization of this new poll legitimate?
Sont-elles légitimes?
I think it is a fairly reasonable demand or request. What then the principles that the Constitution puts forward in terms of transparency, in terms of accountability, verifiability, you can tie it to elections and say, okay, to the extent that nobody knows what happened in terms of transmission of results, there are officers in your secretariat who have been complicit. Why wouldn't you purge those things first before you go into an election? What different result would you expect if the same system that were compromised are in place? Nobody knows what is in the servers.
Alors, professeur Manyora, à quoi faut-il, selon vous,
what should we expect on 17th October?
Prochain?
I doubt that they can have an election on 17th, and I'm sure they are likely to end in courts. I'm sure somebody like Raila or somebody else will go back to the Supreme Court to seek clarification